You're listening to Podcast PXN, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Let's do this. What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 81. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined over Discord by the Nintendo aficionado, Roro. How are you, Roro?
I'm doing pretty great. Not bad.
Sweet deal. Roro, I want to thank you, and I want to also thank ISO Christian on Twitter. If you look him up, make sure you don't use the H, because I made that mistake. And that's
completely different person that you probably don't want to follow.
Completely different person. So thank you guys for hosting last week, and you guys did an awesome job and knocked it out of the park. I was watching on the way home last week, and it was awesome. So thank you guys.
Yes, and I just want to echo what you said. Thank you, Christian, for coming on and making it a fun time, for sure.
Absolutely. Roro, thank you to everyone joining us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. Just search Podcast PXN and you will find us on there, as well as twitch.tv/Podcast PXN as well. We did start doing Periscope a couple weeks ago, but we talked about this, that apparently Periscope is shutting down. So, but it's still working right now. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not going to mention it anymore, but we're going to keep doing it as long as it works. But yeah, okay. That's interesting. Roro, the topic of the show this week is the crazy news that MLB The Show 21 is coming to Gamepass. But first, the show always starts with the PXN news of the week, so let's go ahead and jump right in. The first item on the PXN news of the week is Elder Scrolls Online is getting a console enhanced edition that has been announced for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X that is releasing on June 8th. Roro, have you, just to kind of start this out, have you played Elder Scrolls Online yet, or have you had the chance to check it out?
No, I have not. None of the Skyrim sort of like series, Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, all that stuff, I have not touched at all, despite it being on pretty much everything in existence. I have not touched those games yet. But yeah, this is obviously good news for fans that do play Elder Scrolls Online. Have you played it before?
So I played a very brief amount of it when it first came out, and it was still like very light on content. But like with all the stuff that they've added over the years, I really kind of want to go back and give it another try, because I feel like Elder Scrolls Online is kind of doing what Fallout 76 failed to do, because a lot of people have said good things about Elder Scrolls Online. So I really do want to check this out when this ends up coming out, and obviously I'm sure this will come to Game Pass as well. So yeah, I am totally on board with this, and they're even saying that it cuts the load times down by half on average, adds 60 frames per second performance mode, which is great, increases the draw distance by nearly double, and a bunch of other stuff as well. But yeah, this definitely seems like a big upgrade for next-gen owners, so it definitely feels like a very good time to kind of jump back into this with all the content there. I'm sure you will probably be interested to check this out when you get a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series. Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Xbox Series S's are starting to become a little bit easier to find, at least in my area. But PS5s are still very hard to snag. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I was yelling at a dog while you were talking. But yes, hopefully things get a little bit less crazy in that regard. Roro, the next news story we have, Resident Evil Village had PS4 Pro gameplay footage shown off after previously only being announced for next-gen consoles, PlayStation 5 and Series S and X. So I thought this was interesting because I thought that Village was actually going to be a next-gen only game, but then they give us this footage, and I think a lot of people were surprised by it, but it's honestly, it's not that surprising considering that the fact that obviously the consoles are still so hard to get right now that they're not going to want to put like a big Resident Evil game out for just such a small portion of people. They want to get this out in the hands of as many people as possible and get as many sales as possible. So I feel like it's very smart for them to do this. Obviously, there's going to be people that say, "Oh, or is it holding them back or whatever?" But I just don't think it will because they made this with next gen in mind, and then they're basically porting it back to the previous gen. So, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't too surprised when I did see the news that it's coming to PS4 as well. Just like you said, lots of people over there that would love to play this. So I think this is great. I don't think it looks great. It looks like a PS4 Pro game. Love the RE engine. It does fantastic stuff for that console. So it looks good. And yeah, I've said this many times before, but I am a scaredy cat. May not pick this up, but what I saw did look really, really good. So it's good to know that I'll be able to play it if I so choose to, because I don't have a PS5 yet. So yeah, I'm all for this for sure.
Yes, agreed. And it's so funny because you always talk about how you're a scaredy cat of scary games, but like I'm a huge scaredy cat when it comes to like scary movies. But yet I love scary games. It's so weird. Like, yeah, you would think that I would be like afraid of both, but like I love scary games. Like it's so weird. I don't know.
I need to give them more of a chance because I played a couple of scary games like Layers of Fear, Little Nightmares is another one. Kind of like dipping my toes in them little by little. So I do want to give Resident Evil franchise a chance for sure because I've heard great things.
Yeah. And it also depends on which one you play too, because like Homefront The Revolution that no one knew about. So yeah, this came out over the weekend because for Easter Sunday, a lot of game developers were chiming in on Twitter on Easter eggs that they had in their games that hadn't been found yet, or like their most proud Easter egg that they put in the game. And yeah, somebody from Crytek UK, which is the Timesplitters developer. Well, they used to be Free Radical, I think. That was their old name, and then they changed to Crytek UK. But anyways, they hid this inside Homefront The Revolution when they made that game. But yet the person who hid it has lost the code to unlock this 4K port of Timesplitters 2. Like, no, don't tell us this. Like, I don't know about you, but I am a huge fan of Timesplitters, and I want that series to come back. And this dude telling us that Timesplitters 2 got a 4K port inside Homefront, and he can't even give it to us. Don't even tell us about it if you can't get to it.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's a bummer. That really sucks. Obviously it's super cool, but just like you said, if you don't know where it is now, I was better not knowing. You know, like now, now it's just it's more sad news than cool. Yeah. Now that it's been lost, but yeah, it's that's a bummer for sure. I haven't played Timesplitters, but I remember us doing a story similar to this where it was being rumored in a different game. Like they found something in it. Maybe it wasn't Timesplitters, but I feel like it might have been. Yeah. That there were hints at another game in the series. So I know there's a lot of people like you who would love that. So I'm sure this was met with a and then shortly after finding out that the code was lost.
Yeah. Oh god, it's just painful to think about that. It's just, of course, the dog found the one squeaking toy that's left on the floor. But yeah, the funny thing about this is I considered getting Homefront The Revolution because I liked the first Homefront game, but I ended up not getting it because it got kind of average to poor reviews. And
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and the funny thing is if this port would have if we would have got the code for this port and known that this port was in the game, I would have bought Homefront just for this port because I love Timesplitters so much. But yeah, it's quite unfortunate. But anyways, Roro, moving on, we have new Mass Effect Legendary Edition details that we got, which I was not really... I wasn't clamoring for more details because I feel like we've gotten more details every month, but like they keep putting more details. So I'm like, all right, but I just want the game to come out at this point. But they also gave us a video comparison as well, showing the original and then the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect 1. So some of the new details, Mass Effect 1's combat has been fine-tuned, including accuracy, aim down sights, rebalanced abilities, and more. There's additional changes to encounters, enemies, and more. The Mako, which is that driving vehicle that's famously like really bad to control, that is getting a lot smoother with faster shields and speed boosts. And then they have comparisons of the original to the new one. It is kind of fascinating because some people were kind of, I guess, hesitant about the new look of the lighting on the new game, which I do agree to an extent. Comparing the two shepherds, they compare the two shepherds on one of the images, and like the original has like really dark shadows and really light faces, whereas the new one is kind of just like all glowing. So I don't know what that will look like when we finally get our hands on it. It's a little different, like when you actually see it like in front of you, instead of just seeing like images, but I don't know if that's a concern of mine or not, but I think overall it's looking very good, and I'm glad to see them making gameplay changes like this, to a game that definitely needed it, the original. So did you see the comparisons on this?
I did, and like you, I wasn't too blown away by the visuals, I should say. I'm a person that would like play the original and be just fine with playing the original. The things that I'm more excited for are the changes that you mentioned, like the Mako changes and just gameplay being more fluid. Because what I've heard, the story is fantastic in Mass Effect 1, but the gameplay is a little bit dated compared to its own sequels even. So those changes are what I'm excited for, but yeah, the visuals are, they kind of look, like you said, they look like the game, but a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
There's definitely some areas that I can tell that it's an up-res and it looks better. But for the most part, I'm just like, it looks okay, I guess. And again, it's a remaster. It's not a remake or anything like that. So I understand. Yeah. But yeah, I'm more excited for the gameplay changes that they have made. Because again, right now it's EA Play is now on Gamepass, so I could totally start playing these games for free right now instead of getting this. But it's those changes that are keeping me from diving in right now.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the biggest thing. Like the original Mass Effect's gameplay updates are the biggest part of this, because like you said, you can just play Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 on EA Play for no extra charge. And those games hold up really well for the most part. I mean, obviously it's not going to be a modern 2021 game, but it definitely holds up compared to the first game. So that is a great point, that people could just do EA Play and play that way. But Roro, Phil Spencer has been on Twitter. He pulled a bit of a Elon Musk.
I thought you were going to say Phil Spencer's in the chat right now. I'm like, what?
Wait, what?
I thought that's what you said. I thought that's what you were going to say.
Oh, no. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, okay. I was like, I thought you knew something. I was like, what the heck? No. Phil Spencer's on our podcast? Okay. No, all right.
Hopefully someday.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That would be cool. No, Phil Spencer, Roro, pulled a Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk likes to do this a lot of times on Twitter, where he'll just respond to a random question and give new details that we never, heard about or whatever. Phil Spencer says that Xbox Cloud streaming is coming to iOS very soon. So apparently they've been working on this for a long time, working on the browser-based solution for the cloud streaming, so that you can play either on Windows in the browser, or you can play on iOS and on your browser as well, to kind of circumvent the whole Apple Store restrictions that they are doing on the App Store. So, but I think this is good news, obviously, for cloud streaming and for Game Pass, because it's obviously going to unlock this gigantic player base that they may not have necessarily had before, and get more subscribers to Game Pass that they may not have had before, because a lot of, like, every single person almost in the world has a smartphone, and I'd say probably 70%, if not more, have an iPhone. So this is a huge deal, definitely, to try to broaden Game Pass quite a bit. And as we'll talk about later with our topic of the show, I think this is only good news for Game Pass to continue to get these big AAA games that we're seeing. So are you going to check this out, Roro, on iOS? Do you have an iPhone or do you have Android?
I do have an iPhone.
Okay.
And yeah, I definitely do want to check it out when it comes. I love Game Pass on PC, but sometimes when like the month rolls around or whenever they're revealing new games, I get a little let down. Like there's definitely some hitters on there,
Yes.
but a lot of the stuff honestly comes to console and strangely enough to cloud. And it's like that's where it goes. It goes to the phone and it goes to console. A lot of the games. So I'm excited to get what I'm missing from Game Pass. With the cloud, because there's a lot of games on there that I would like to check out that I just haven't been able to because I just have the PC version. But yeah, I'm looking at the news here, and they said in December 2020 that xCloud beta on iOS will be coming in spring 2021. Spring 2021 is now. So soon for sure, hopefully means very soon with what Phil Spencer said. So I'm excited to check it out for sure.
Yeah, and that original beta build that they had for iOS, they had an actual application, but then they had to pull that because Apple didn't let them sell Game Pass on their store, essentially. So that's why they had to do the browser thing, and it's like, ugh, yeah, it's kind of sucks, but it is what it is. As long as it works good on the browser, that'd still be okay. But yeah. You made a really good point, and I forgot what I was going to say because I forgot what we were talking about before that. I was going to comment on what you said first. What crap?
I was talking about how cloud gets, or console and cloud get more stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So, and the reason for that is because people have to develop a completely different version of the game for Windows Store, as opposed to most people release their games on Steam, because obviously Steam has millions and millions and millions of people, and Windows Store is just not there right now. So yeah, that's a great point, though, that xCloud or cloud streaming going to the browser will definitely help that audience, because then you can just play whatever on your PC by streaming it, which is great as well. And Outriders, I think, is one of those, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. That was a great point, and I my memory just failed me there, and I was like, "What were we just talking about? What day is it?" Yeah.
Where am I?
Yeah. Moving on, Roro. A new report has found a robustly verified link between loot boxes and problematic gambling. This was an interesting one for sure. Loot boxes have been such a thing of controversy ever since they were kind of brought into the gaming industry. And people often compared them to gambling, like from the get-go. So I don't think that's anything new. But it is interesting that there's now reports coming out like this is essentially saying like a guaranteed link to one another, which is fascinating to me. That essentially they're saying if you do loot boxes, it could lead you into like problematic gambling, which is. Oof.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, like you're saying, it's been in like the spotlight ever since it's been introduced. Like I remember when Overwatch happened, it was kind of a big talking point then too, and ever since then, it's been in like they've been brought to court. Some games have been like you can't do this, and like games rated E, that's not good. And to an extent, I understand that, like having kids exposed to stuff like that in a game that is rated E for E when gambling and casinos you're not allowed anywhere near that. So I do understand that. I would be fine with loot boxes disappearing. I don't really have a stake in the game at all. I do enjoy opening up a loot box. I don't usually pay for them, but like when I level up in Overwatch, I do love that feeling. And maybe that is the problem, that I like it so much that maybe I shouldn't be playing games like that, because it could lead to problematic gambling and what they're saying here. So at least put it in games that are rated appropriately, or put it on the box and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a robustly verified link is very very telling, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, for many of these games to be catered towards children, obviously they have a more easily manipulated brain than someone like me and you, who we're already adults, so we already pretty much have our senses like formulated and all that, whereas kids are just developing those things, so they may not may not know any better. So interesting stuff.
I have a story based on that.
Okay.
My sister actually used my credit card to buy a battle pass once. And it was just linked. She knew better also. This is not just like she was too young, and she just like, oh, I'm going to buy that. She knew. So she, like, I do get this. Like, she just wanted that battle pass so bad that she couldn't wait for her birthday or anything. She literally went out and used my linked credit card, which I have definitely removed since because I don't trust her anymore. But she bought the battle pass. So I do get this. Like, there's just, especially in kids, where they just want the new thing. They don't know how it's affecting everybody else. So in her defense, I understand that she didn't realize that she may have been hurting my bank account. She didn't know what the statements were. But sometimes they don't know, right? So it's good to just have it removed or have that warning.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very cool story that links in perfectly. Yeah. So children, don't do
children.
Roro, Apex Legends Season 9 is set to feature a ton of Titanfall content, and fans should expect some really cool stuff there, apparently, is what they're saying. And I kind of wanted to ask you what your thoughts on this was, because I know the year that Apex came out, there was a lot of talk that fall they were supposed to have a new Titanfall game or expansion or something that was supposed to come, and it never came out. And we really haven't heard anything from Titanfall since Titanfall 2 came out. So my question is do we think that this is a product of Titanfall 3 being canceled, or whatever that other Titanfall project was? Do we think that it's maybe a product of that being canceled and then bringing like those assets that they created for that into Apex? Are you kind of thinking the same thing, or are you thinking something else?
I don't know. I'm hoping that it's like the complete opposite, that like maybe they're hyping us up for Titanfall 3. That would be great. But I think we would sooner see Titanfall 3 be canceled rather than a new one come out, unfortunately. I've only played the first one. I've started the second one. I know how amazing that campaign is for a lot of people, so I do want to get back to it. But I know that critically it did well, but sales-wise, I know it hasn't always been the greatest for Respawn. Yeah. And they obviously have a hit with Apex, so I understand them bringing that critically acclaimed franchise to their newest one. So I think that's awesome, and I'm excited to see what they could bring into it. I really have no idea what they could do besides like obviously cosmetic stuff and maybe some cool stuff to the map. But I'm excited to see what this could be. But yeah, where do you fall down on it?
So that was what I was thinking originally, was that they were like bringing this cut content from whatever they canceled, the Titanfall project. But now, like, after you saying that, that makes a lot of sense as well. Like, they could just be hyping up Titanfall again to get ready to announce a new Titanfall, because we know Respawn has 3 teams now. And one is the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order team, one's the Apex team, and the other team, we don't know what they're doing. So maybe that third team is working on a new Titanfall, and this will lead us to an announcement of a new Titanfall. Maybe.
I hope so.
That would be very cool. And as far as the content that we may see in Apex, I think it's possible we could see some kind of hero, and maybe this is a little OP, but maybe a new hero that can call in a Titan, because they did talk about how originally with Apex's pitch, they had Titans in Apex, and they axed them because they were kind of too crazy, I guess. They said something else, but something to that effect, that it was kind of too crazy for the map. But I'm kind of wondering if they just do one hero, a new hero that can have like their super call in a Titan, and maybe just like, not make them so crazy powerful, just like, tune them down a little bit so that they don't just wipe everyone out. Maybe something like that would work. I don't know.
I hope so. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
There was an article that I was reading that came out in February, with one of the chief officers, Laura. I don't remember her last name. I closed it here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Respawn does have that freedom though. So if they do want to make a Titanfall, they can. Like, EA isn't breathing down their back as much as they were before. So I hope that this is a hype up thing rather than we cancel it, so here's the content. Yeah. Because like you said, there's more teams, and what I just read there, it seems like they have more freedom to develop what they like. So hopefully Titanfall 3 is in the future.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Agreed. Titanfall 2 campaign is so good.
Yeah.
So good. Moving on, Roro, Nintendo has announced Pacman 99, which is a 99-player online Pac-Man Battle Royale game exclusive to Switch Online, and it is available now, which is all right. I do have one question. Did they eliminate Mario 35, or did they just make it so you can't download it?
I think it's just like the servers are offline.
Okay.
Now, okay. I think I haven't booted it up since, for a long time, honestly. But yeah, I don't think you could find a game anymore.
That's
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it seems like they're just replacing that with this, essentially.
Pretty much. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got replaced with Pacman 99, like you're saying. And it's so weird. Like, Tetris 99 is still a thing, I'm pretty sure. That didn't go away. And you would think, comparing like Mario 35, and I love Tetris 99, but when you have the two side by side, you would think Nintendo would want to hold on to Mario 35 out of everything. But they insist that it's a limited time thing for the 30th anniversary of Mario. So now that's over too. But I'm totally down for this Pacman 99 stuff, though. Honestly, I'm very excited to pick this up later. It's free for online users, so I'm definitely excited to check it out later. I love this little trend that they're doing too. I hope we get more in the future. I saw some people saying I would love a Zelda 99, a Zelda something, or a Sonic something. I think Sonic would work really well, pretty much just like Mario 35, probably just like a platformer. And when you eliminate an enemy, it goes to the other players as well. And they're celebrating an anniversary too, so who knows? That could happen. But I'm sad that Mario 35 is gone, but I'm excited that something new is here as well.
You know what, Roro? How about Star Fox 64.99?
Yes,
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Just to make it super confusing. Star Fox 64.99. Like, what is that? Yeah. Moving on, Roro. E3 is a full digital event this year, they have announced. And it is going to take place June 12th through the 15th. And the interesting part here is they are getting some support from some of the big players, including one that hadn't supported them for a while, Nintendo, which is very interesting. Obviously, Nintendo has done their directs every year for E3, but they haven't, had a presence at E3 in a very long time. They were the first ones to pull out. So it's interesting that they're giving support. Xbox is also giving support, which we can talk about that in a little bit, what I think they're going to show. Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two, Warner Brothers, and Koch Media. So with all of those, that's actually a decent lineup. And it's not too far off what we typically see from E3. There are obviously the notable absences, which are Sony, which they haven't, the year before COVID, they stopped anyways. EA, which they had already pulled back quite a bit before COVID as well, and did their own event, even though they kind of timed it with E3 week. And then Activision, which has always never been at E3. So that's kind of the big notable ones, but really it seems like they have a lot of support from many of the people that traditionally are there, and Nintendo coming in as well, which surprised me. And as far as Xbox, I think Xbox will have a couple of announcements, but I don't think this is going to be their big showcase. At least that's what I'm thinking right now. Maybe Phil Spencer decides that that's the best place to show their big showcase. But I kind of feel like after last year, they had a really good July showcase event. So I feel like they may do that again, either late June or July again for their showcase event. And then they'll just have a couple things for E3. But what are your thoughts on what we will see from this digital event?
Yeah, I mean, I assume it's going to be pretty similar to what we got last year, but just, more condensed, I guess. Yeah. For me, this is awesome. I love E3. I love having all these announcements jammed into 1 week. I personally like that more than having it spread out. That's just me. I just grown accustomed to that E3 week and that hype of it. So I'm glad that it's back. Obviously, all digital is going to kind of change the hype factor. It's not going to be as engaging, I assume, as in person was. Even though I was watching it on the screen, there's just a certain level of intimacy isn't the right word, but I'm blanking on another one. But there's just a different feel when you can see them on stage rather than a digital green screen or something like that. But I'm excited to see Nintendo's Direct for E3. Always been a fan of those, obviously. Yeah. I'm hoping Breath of the Wild 2 will be there. They did say later this year they'll be talking about that. So I'm hoping it'll be talked about there, and maybe an announcement for later this year. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I'm happy that Ubisoft is going to be there, Capcom, Xbox, of course. Obviously, Sony is not surprising that they're not returning, but it's just interesting that they are doing this, like Nintendo, Xbox, and them. Like, I say that I'm happy about this, but I can't imagine why they would do this. You know, like they had a fantastic showing last year, all of them, and they're all able to own their own time. And having it all in a week, there's going to be Xbox and Nintendo, and maybe everybody else may be like in the shadows. So it's E3 has always been like that, but yeah, it's weird. I'm happy, but at the same time, what did E3 do to make these guys join?
Yeah. That is a good point. It's just like you said, everyone had a really good event last year, and they had their own spotlight because they were on different days.
It's all spread out.
Yeah, and like obviously as gamers, like we love when everything is all at one time in a certain small span of time, because it's like we get so many announcements and it's so exciting. Like we look forward to this time every year, and it's awesome for us. But like you said, for the companies, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because you're basically burying the people that don't have as good of marketing, or they don't get as much attention or whatever, what have you. There's so many games that you're going to inevitably lose some that get buried underneath all the goodness.
And and because of that, now we do have a lot of smaller events too, like the I'm blanking on the name, but the Kind of Funny one they did. It was called the Kind of Funny Showcase, but they recently changed Gorilla Interactive. I think is what they changed it to.
Yes.
And Wholesome Games is another one that I really liked, where they have like those smaller showcases thanks to the digital craze that's happened over the past year and a half. So we have those avenues now to kind of spotlight those smaller titles, but E3 just has never been a place for those indies or smaller games to really shine. So I guess it's more of the same, which is good technically. Yeah,
for sure. So maybe we'll get some E3 predictions again this year. We can jump back on that train. But our final news story at Roro, Marvel's Avengers, Borderlands 3, and The Long Dark just released to PlayStation Now. So I put in here, this kind of leads us into our topic of the show in a little bit. And I kind of asked the question, is this enough to compete with Game Pass, with Sony making moves like this? Obviously, Borderlands 3, that's like, what, 2 years old now, maybe a little older. Marvel's Avengers obviously came out in the fall. However, there is a caveat that this is the PS4 version only of Marvel's Avengers. It's not it does not include the PS5 version, which I thought was kind of odd in my opinion, because if you have people playing on PlayStation 5, you want them to have the best experience. So I don't know. And then The Long Dark, which is, I believe that was an indie title. I
think it's a survival game, I think.
Yes, I think you're right. So do you think that this is enough to compete with Game Pass, like them making moves like this, or do you want to see more day one stuff like what Xbox is doing with Outriders and others as well?
Definitely. I don't think this is enough just yet. I think it is a good taking the right steps so far. I remember PS Now was a reason that I didn't get into is because of the streaming aspect and there being latency and lag and all that stuff. But now I think you can download stuff, so you don't have to stream it. So that was obviously a good step in the right direction too. Yeah. Marvel's Avengers being on there is great. Borderlands 3, all good. But I do agree with you where I think day one stuff needs to happen. It doesn't have to be big PS exclusive, although that would definitely help.
Yeah.
But like games like Outriders being day one on the console or on PS Now would definitely help them compete with Game Pass, right? And the Play at Home initiative that they're doing now is great too, is a great idea too, but it's completely separate from PlayStation Now, obviously. Right. But I think if you combine those two somehow, that would be awesome. The games that are being free there, obviously I'd rather them be free, so maybe I shouldn't give them any ideas, including in the subscription service. But yeah, definitely need some day one stuff for sure.
And that's why I'm still surprised that they don't do something with their first party for PlayStation Now, because, and I know the quote from Jim Ryan a long time ago was that their games are too expensive to do in a PS Now type setting or something to that effect. And I guess my question to him is like, Microsoft is doing it with Xbox Game Pass. They're doing, like, those games are not any cheaper. Halo Infinite has been in development for 6 years. That game's not any cheaper than, Ghost of Tsushima or, choose any other PlayStation exclusive. And I guess that's the question, like, at what point does Sony look at it and say, hey, we have to do something here or else we're going to fall behind on the subscription front, because Microsoft is just dominating the headlines with all of the stuff coming to Game Pass. And I just forgot about this. I was going to include this in the show and I forgot. There was actually a rumor out there right now that Battlefield 6 is going to come to Game Pass on day one as well. Mm-hmm. Which, if that happens, that's a huge first-person shooter franchise that's multi-platform, but to come day one to Game Pass would be a big get for them, for sure, on day one, anyways. So yeah, I definitely agree with you, and I think they definitely have a lot of room to grow PS Now, and they definitely have some work to do, I think, to get them on par.
Yeah. definitely. The Master Chief collection alone is like, it blows my mind every time that I that you talk about it. But every time I see it there, like I could just play all the Halo games and the Infinite collection or game that's coming later this year. It's just that alone is like, holy crap, that's a great deal right there. Plus everything else that's on there. So yeah, I think PlayStation has a long way to go, and that's coming from someone who plays just on PlayStation. I'm not an Xbox fanboy.
Yeah.
If anybody that's listening, I love PlayStation.
Yeah.
It's, and I'm sure everybody out there would agree that the Game Pass has a lot on PlayStation now. So hopefully PlayStation now can catch up eventually, because in the end that would be good for everybody.
Absolutely. And I love PlayStation as well. And like, I feel like a better PlayStation Now service would make me subscribe to PlayStation Now, because I don't play my PlayStation as much as I do my Xbox in general. And I feel like a subscription service would be better suited to me, because then I can just, boot up my console and be like, all right, I want to play this and then play this. And then you just have access to all of their first party lineup if they get to that point. But as of right now, can't do that. So that's kind of, it is a little bit of a bummer, but I think eventually they will have to get there in order to continue to compete on the subscription front. Anyways, and you were talking about the Master Chief Collection, Roro, so let's just go ahead and dive into the games we are playing, and I can talk about Halo, the Master Chief Collection, Season 6, Roro. Season 6 that launched today, Roro. So I still think that this game does not get the credit it deserves with all of the stuff they have added, but this update in particular is a big update. It's adding 2 new Halo 3 maps, Waterfall, and I can't remember the other one off the top of my head. I've just blanked on it. But there's 2 new Halo 3 maps that are coming from Halo Online that are releasing. There's a new game variant called Escalation Slayer, which this is a brand new game type that's never been in Halo before, and I am excited for it, because what it is have you ever played gun game in Call of Duty before, Roro?
No, it sounds very familiar though, so I think it has been explained to me, but I forget.
Okay. So gun game in COD is essentially you start with a weapon. Everyone in the map starts with a weapon, and you have to progress through different weapons. So like each time you get a kill, you change weapons to another weapon, and it keeps going until you end the match or end the round. So Halo is doing that with Escalation Slayer. So you continuously keep getting kills with the weapons until you get to the final weapon, and then you get the kill and you win the round. I am very excited about that, because I love gun game from COD, and I don't play COD that much anymore, and getting this in Halo is just beautiful. I love that, and I'm excited to play that. They're also getting mouse and keyboard support for Xbox, field of view enhancements for when you play in 120 hertz, which I've been playing in 120 hertz with my TV. I have the LG OLED, so it supports that. And I've wanted a wider field of view on Xbox, but you can only do it if you're not playing in 120 hertz. But now they're adding it so you can, so I'm excited about that. These are deep cuts, but you can now team change in custom games, which you may be seeming like, what's the big deal there? There's a big deal there, because I played Halo 2 all the time back in the day, and there's this little game called Zombies in Halo 2. It was basically before Infection was a thing in Halo, and people made this game type called Zombies, and you would have to manually switch teams to green team whenever you got killed by a zombie. So it was based on an honor system. So on Master Chief Collection, they never had the ability to change teams when you're in the match. So you couldn't do stuff like that, like legacy stuff from Halo 2. You couldn't do stuff like that because you couldn't change teams. So now I'm excited that we can finally do that and get some nostalgia. Oh, I'm so excited for custom games. That's very cool. Very, very cool. And they're adding a little platform called the Exchange, which essentially they're adding more more customization options that you can use points to purchase customization options with these points. And this is all, there's no real money involved. This is all just, you earn it with XP by playing the game. You can't even buy it with real money, even if you wanted to. So very excited for all of this stuff, and I'm going to be playing for the Master Chief Collection until they stop updating it. I'll continue to keep playing it after that even, but yes, they continue to do a really great job with that. So
nice. Every time I hear you talk about it, I'm like, I gotta get back into it. It sounds awesome. Yes. And I remember when we were talking about the announcement for Season 6 and all of the updates they were implementing then, I was like, this sounds pretty awesome for Halo fans. Like, this sounds really cool. I remember the armor that they were introducing as well.
Yep.
Like, it was from like a game that never released here, but Halo fans knew about it. It's so cool. That's awesome.
Fire Team Raven. It's from Fire Team Raven, which is an arcade game at Dave and Buster's. Like,
yes. What?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love stuff like that. So I do want to check it out very soon. I still have it downloaded on my PC. Gotta go back to the campaigns because I want to play Infinite when it comes out. So,
yes.
Yeah. But the games that I have been playing a mobile game actually, which is no, can you believe it? And I've been playing Fire Emblem Heroes, which came out a long time ago. I was obsessed with it when it came out. Fell off of it for about a year, and I don't know why I decided to re-download it, but I did, and I'm hooked again. There's so much there for me now because it's been a year, so there's a lot of maps for me to do. It's basically a Fire Emblem, but with chibi characters instead, and you're collecting all these heroes. We talked about the gambling earlier, the robustly verified link between loot boxes and problematic gambling. This game is all about like most mobile games are, where it's like a gacha game where you try to get those high-level characters so you can do better on the maps. I haven't paid real money yet because there's so much for me to do that I'm just getting the orbs for free. So that's been great. So I've been enjoying that. I love Fire Emblem. It's a fantastic series, so I'm glad I have a little free version to play in the meantime while we wait for hopefully the next announcement, hopefully very soon. And I haven't had a lot of time to play anything else, honestly. I'm trying to remember if I did play anything else this week besides that, but I'm blanking, so I don't think I got the chance to play anything else this week. Literally just that. Yeah.
Awesome. We get a little bit of mobile expertise on the podcast now. So, we need to rename the podcast PXNM for mobile.
Oh God.
Oh gosh. That's like when we first started the podcast, Sean always yelled at me. He's like, we can't talk about PC on here. You only have PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. I'm like, Sean, it's a game podcast. We could talk about whatever we want. But
I do remember the other game that I played.
Okay.
I started playing Final Fantasy 13, which is something that I've been wanting to play for a very long time because I love the soundtrack for it. I love that trailer that came out such a long time ago. I honestly go back and watch that trailer because of how cool it is. But yeah, and because Lightning, her character design is so badass. I love her design that I just want to see what her story is. And I'm on chapter 3 right now. I definitely understand everybody's critiques about it, with it being a lot of people's not favorite Final Fantasy game. But for the most part, I'm enjoying it. I like the story. It's very story heavy, very linear, which is why a lot of people don't like it. But I'm enjoying it so far. But I'll have more to say, hopefully, about it next week. But so far, so good.
So did they have a sequel to Final Fantasy 13?
I think they made 2 spin-offs or sequels, like you're saying, after the first one, which is like, how could it be everybody's least favorite Final Fantasy game and they made 2 more afterwards?
Yeah. But
yeah, I think they did make a sequel to it called Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, and then I think there was another one after.
Gotcha. Roro, we're going into the topic of the show. I thought it would be interesting to talk about this because this is kind of unprecedented what has happened here. So Gamepass has officially gone mad, Roro. Microsoft has confirmed that Sony San Diego developed MLB The Show 21 is arriving on Xbox Game Pass on its launch day, April 20th, 2021. What? So I don't know what in the world, what we live in right now, that a Sony developed game is coming day one to Game Pass, but not coming, and this is part of the problem, not coming day one to PlayStation Now. Like, it's a Sony developed game. What is happening? What were your first impressions and thoughts on this? Like, when you saw this, were you like, holy crap, what the heck?
Pretty much. I was pretty shocked when I saw it on Twitter, I think is where I first heard about it. I was like, whoa, what is going on? How is this happening? Is this real? And I remember earlier on in the year where we had the Microsoft logo on the box art, I think, or the Xbox logo, one of the two. And we were shocked then. It's like, whoa, this is so weird to see. Like, this is kind of weird. This feels off. And now it's coming to Game Pass. It's I think it's cool, but it's also really surprising. Like, I wouldn't expect this, but I hope this opens the door to again, PlayStation Now upping their ante, I guess, making it a better service. Yeah. And who knows, maybe in the future, Game Pass games, like, it's the potential and possibilities with Game Pass are endless because there's so many video games, but so many different companies too that could want to play nice with them. So I hope it opens up the doors to more, I guess, quote unquote, exclusive or taboo games that you wouldn't expect on Xbox start to make their way over. Yeah. Or vice versa, having Xbox games make their way over to other consoles like Cuphead did with Nintendo Switch and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what this could mean.
Yeah. This is a very smart move by Microsoft, because this is the first year that we are getting MLB The Show on Xbox. So you're obviously going to have a hard time convincing people to go from PlayStation to Xbox if they are a big MLB The Show fan. However, what I believe Microsoft is doing with Game Pass is not only catering to the hardcore that love Microsoft first-party games and other things as well, but they're also catering towards that casual audience. And that casual audience loves sports games. There's a subset of casual audience that loves sports games. And with their partnership already with EA, EA Play is included with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And you're already getting Madden 21 included in Game Pass Ultimate. You're getting NHL 21 that it just was added to Game Pass Ultimate. You're getting the NBA game as well, even though that's not the better one. The 2K one's better. But and you're getting all of these sports games around Game Pass, and that's what a big portion of the casual audience comes to play. They come to play sports games, and they come to play Call of Duty oftentimes, and FIFA as well. That's a huge one internationally. So I feel like this is just another play at that casual audience and trying to get as many people on board with Game Pass as they possibly can, and it's very smart. And I do think it's interesting, but MLB is actually listed as the publisher for the Xbox version of the game, not Sony, which I thought that Sony was going to publish it, but apparently it's Major League Baseball that's actually publishing it. And they were the ones who actually made this Game Pass deal. And their quote was, "As part of the goal for this year's game, MLB decided to bring the franchise to more players and baseball fans." So obviously, if you're the MLB, this deal makes sense because Microsoft's giving you a bunch of money up front and bringing people to a platform that this game didn't exist on before. You're building that base, that player base, and you're just going to get word of mouth out there, and those people will get their friends to buy it, and et cetera, et cetera. It just goes down the chain. So very, very smart, I think, on their behalf to do this. And this quote sums it up for me. They just want to get it in the hands of more people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I could take back what I said with like opening the door for more Sony games where I thought this was more of a Sony decision,
Yeah.
but clearly it was more on the MLB side. And I do, now that I'm thinking about this, I do remember Sony coming out and saying it wasn't really their decision to put MLB The Show on. There was more, like you said, MLB. So maybe we are a little bit further away from seeing Sony play nice with Xbox, which isn't surprising, but I was kind of hopeful because of this. But yeah, I guess that makes more sense, honestly. But yeah, this, and like you're saying with casual gamers, sometimes I just want to play a sports game. I don't play sports a lot. I don't watch sports very often, but sometimes I just want to dive into an NBA story mode and just play out my character and just have fun like that. And MLB, I could totally see myself just downloading that one day and just getting hooked somehow. And I wouldn't have done that on PlayStation because it's not available to me. So Xbox doing this is obviously a great move, and it could get me invested into the franchise, and maybe I will pick it up on PlayStation, which would kind of be backwards. But yeah, that'd be. I'm glad that it's happening.
See, the crazy part too, Roro, is a couple of weeks ago. So I had pre-ordered MLB The Show on Xbox when they first announced it because I was very excited and I hadn't played an MLB game in a long time, and I wanted to check one out. So I pre-ordered it a long time ago when they first announced it. 2 weeks ago, I got a refund for that. And I was like, why are they refunding me MLB The Show? So I was very confused at that time. But I was just like, whatever, I'll get it. I'll pick it up at a later time. Now it makes sense. They were refunding people that probably had Gamepass or Gamepass Ultimate because they knew that this decision was coming. So definitely very interesting.
That's awesome. That's weird though, because I remember when Outriders came out, you had to manually. Maybe it's just case by case situation where MLB was more fine with that, or Microsoft got on top of it or something. But that's interesting. That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Very interesting. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about in this regard, or anything else otherwise?
No, nothing else. Okay. Oh, there's a rumor here that I'm seeing.
Oh, breaking news.
I don't have anything more than a headline, but it says, is Xbox publishing Kojima's next game in quotations rumor. So hopefully that would be cool. Is Xbox publishing Kojima's next game? They're going to be at E3, and wait, are they? Yeah, Konami. No, Konami is. Never mind. Kojima might be that, though. That'd be cool. Like, they might be on Xbox's stage this year. Who knows?
That's interesting.
But I don't know what that rumor is about, but that would be cool. I'll look into that for sure. People out there.
Would that be Death Stranding ported, or would it be like something new? I don't.
I mean, Death Stranding's on PC, and it's on PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But I would assume Kojima would be happy with Death Stranding being in more places. But
very interesting. Very interesting.
That's it. Yeah. I was going to say no, and then I saw that that notification. I was like, oh, what's this?
Breaking news. Yeah, that is fascinating. I just don't want Kojima to announce a new game and then show it for the next 4 years. Like, just don't show us it until it's like at least a year or so away. Like, I hate when he does that. It's like, oh, here's this game. 6 months later, oh, here it is again. Here it is again. Here it is. He just keeps doing it. Yeah.
No, we didn't. We're waiting.
Yeah. So, I don't know. All right. I guess we can close out the show, Roro. Thank you again to everyone joining us both live on YouTube and on Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Stitcher. Thank you, Roro. I am Daniel, and this has been Podcast PXN, and we are out. Much love, and keep on gaming.
See ya.